Hola amigos, bien ok. Y, oh, feliz noche casi desde aquí en Medellín. Poco tarde hoy. Am, muchas cosas hoy, muchas cosas para hacer. Pero contigo un pensamiento que sigue con los eventos de hoy es para pensar en tus metas, goals, cosas que tú estás planeando para hacer en el futuro, por el futuro, y cómo hacer si tú necesitas cambiar o, por ejemplo, para mirar con otro perspectivo. Y si esa es una buena cosa o una mala cosa. So, a busy day today, lots of things come up, but one of the topics of conversation in one of my classes today really got me thinking a bit, so I'm going to refer to that today. It's on the topic of goals, setting goals, things you're trying to achieve in the future. Now, this project, this 90-day project, really, in a way, is one of those. It's like 90 days to get better at your language. But the topic really come up with how strict do you need to be to achieve the goal? Does it matter, really, if you hit a particular number? Or if you achieve a particular event? And if you don't achieve this number or this event, does this mean really you failed? Or can you measure the achievement in a different way? Or should you measure it at all? Something to think about, perhaps. Yeah. So my reflection on this today was that perhaps sometimes if we stick too strictly to our goals, we say, I must achieve this by this point, perhaps we're being a bit too narrow in our focus, and perhaps we should take a more wider view, a longer view on it, in the sense of what's the goal leading you towards. So if we look at our language learning, we could say, oh, okay, I want to be fluent in 90 days, but then what do we mean by fluent? Could we take a more open view on that? Is it being able to speak with, let's say, native speakers of that particular language with confidence, even though you make a few mistakes? Well, I would argue yes. Is it good enough that you can pass a particular exam? Now, that's a more easy measurable thing. Does that make you fluent in the same way? That's an open question, yeah? So perhaps it's really just to have a think about it, because we're over halfway through this process to try and improve our level of our language, and maybe progress isn't quite as fast as it was at the beginning. And you might think, oh, I don't know, what am I doing? Have I failed on my goal? Am I going to get there? Or perhaps part of this is really just we're setting up the process of us being language learners. And because we're open to learn the language, we are always going to improve a little bit. It might be more difficult to measure. Perhaps it's not exactly like in 90 days, or we can't say this level or this number, perhaps. But if we carry on with the process, and if we give ourselves perhaps a more flexible interpretation of the goal that we're trying for, it's not as much that it's easier to achieve, because it still requires a lot of effort and a lot of consistency. It's just that perhaps we might need to look at where we could say, oh, I failed at that. I didn't remember all these words I was trying to remember today. I only remembered 3 instead of the 10 I was trying to remember. We can take that, perhaps what we might otherwise classify as a failure to achieve a particular goal, and look at it as an opportunity to maybe reflect, certainly look more positively when I look at the other things I did learn, or perhaps see it as an opportunity to maybe slightly change direction in the way we're studying, maybe change the technique, or like I said, maybe look at the different times you're studying, different ways you might do it, different way to refocus. So it's not that we're giving up, it's just that we're seeing it as a new opportunity, perhaps for us to develop in a different area, or take a slightly different direction, a slightly different route to the end goal, which is to get better, in our case, to get better at learning our language. So that's the thing, really. Look at perhaps the way that we use the goals to help us, to motivate us in the beginning, but also to be mindful of how we might use the goals to judge ourselves, and whether perhaps that's always the best thing, whether we should perhaps be a bit kinder to ourselves and look at it more as an opportunity to learn or to see from a different perspective, a different opportunity of how to develop. That's my thought for the day. There we go. Déjame saber en los comentarios. See you next time. Cheerio.